That was a beautiful ceremony. So we'll now have our welcome address from Umesh Vaidyamath, who is the CEO and founder of INSZoom. I've known Umesh since, I want to say, the year 2000. Early days in INSZoom, which started in 1999. He was promoting at an immigration lawyer conference where I was attending, and we met, and it turned out, I think I mentioned earlier, that my own office is very close to the INSZoom headquarters. That was just a coincidence. And so we became good friends and have a great exchange over the years. We've had many, many good times. About 11 years ago, Umesh is from Karnataka State. Was raised here and was educated here and is devoted to the community. And of course has development center here in Bangalore. But in his travels and coming back to India and realizing the great opportunity, he wanted to have the meeting of the great minds of immigration, if you will. And so 10 years ago, they had the first IIC, the first immigration conference here in Bangalore, and invited a smaller group, which has now grown over the last 10 years. This is the 10th anniversary of the INSZoom Immigration Conference. So it's fantastic, the full 10 years, and to see the growth and to see all of the lives that are being impacted and hopefully professional development and all of the good things that come out of this conference. I think we're all appreciative to Umesh for having the vision to make this happen. And he's been a great visionary. He has so many great ideas. He's always listening. You know, despite coming from being that engineer background, he listens so well. He's become a great entrepreneur and a businessman, and he's many other things, including a good friend. And so I want to bring Umesh to the front here.
Thank you, Jake. Good afternoon. I hope all of you enjoyed the lunch. And personally myself, I really liked the carrot halwa. It was awesome. Actually, I was about to come back and start my presentation. The moment I saw in someone's plate, I said I should go and try it out. So great. Again, thank you for all of you being here today. Just give me a minute. I want to get used to this clicker. Is this? Oh, okay, great. I think I got it. So now, okay, thank you. As Jake was saying, this is our INSZoom's 10th conference in India. It started with probably 5 minutes conversation between myself and Shruti, who's here, and Rami, and several other folks from immigration industry, saying that, you know what, there is no event that happens in India to bring in all the global mobility professionals under one roof. How about we get started? So we probably would talk maybe on Monday, and on a Friday we had this first event, and we started with a room full of probably just 16 people in Lee Meridian Hotel. And from there, today it has grown to over 200 plus people attending this conference every year. And many of them, I know that they come back and give me feedback that they really enjoy this conference. And it has a very unique flavor to this conference than many of the events that happen in the market. One is, this event basically truly believes in educating the industry. So we basically bring in both folks from immigration industry, the corporate leaders, and experts in immigration, the service providers, or law firms from all over the world. Then along with that, we like to make this place really fun. So we bring Jake also for this, so that it's much easier to learn when you're having fun. So along with this, initially it started just a day event. Today we made it to 2 days. Main reason is to make sure we're not just having panels and conferences. We want to make sure we go back and learn the immigration in deeper for the new folks who enter into the market. So this is how it got us to the two-day conference, and thank you for all the participants today to making it two-day event a success. Also, I would like to welcome and all our generous sponsors, Fokuri Global Immigration, EY, USI Law, Zoomly, and Visa Wolf, and Barry Appleman. And without your support, this wouldn't have been possible. Thanks for being such a great sponsor for the event. Thank you. So when we talk about immigration, the first thing always comes in mind is going to be US immigration. So it's very important. There is a lot of new event changes that are happening right now in the United States, also all around the world. It's very important for us to really go back, and in my personal opinion, how has the US immigration has evolved in past 200 years. So there is a video that I really like personally. I thought I should share with all of you.
To let in this country is about as old as the country itself. It's an issue that America has debated since the early 19th century, and we've admitted people from nearly every single country since, but it hasn't really been an even admission process. So this line represents 200,000 legal immigrants to the U.S., and we're going to stack them up to see when they came to the U.S. and where they came from. So early on, most were European, largely Irish, German, and British, and there were also Chinese and Canadian immigrants. But in 1882, the U.S. passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, which banned Chinese immigration for 10 years. That was extended and then made permanent, and it wasn't repealed for 61 years. The economic depression of the 1890s decreased European immigration and nearly stopped Canadian immigration entirely. But after the Depression, the demographics of immigrants changed, and there was a rise in Russian, Italian, Spanish, and Japanese immigrants. In 1917, the U.S. banned immigration from Asian countries entirely, except for the Philippines and Japan. In 1921, the U.S. capped immigration based on nationality. This severely limited the ability to immigrate to the U.S. for people not from the Western Hemisphere or a country with older roots in the U.S. Then the Great Depression happened. All immigration plummeted. Then World War II happened. The U.S. refused to increase immigration caps for 20,000 Jewish children fleeing Nazi rule. It also stopped naturalization proceedings for Italians, Germans, and Japanese. In 1952, the U.S. stopped excluding immigrants based on race, but more stringent quotas meant most slots were still for Western Europeans. In 1965, the quota system was entirely repealed. It allowed for a far more diverse group of immigrants, particularly from Central America and South America, but also Asia. In the 1970s and 80s, Asian immigrants arrived in huge numbers, largely from the Philippines, South Korea, India, and Hong Kong. The U.S. also evacuated 130,000 people from Vietnam after the war. In the 1990s, the U.S. increased immigration caps to 700,000 annually. The country began to invest in border security to discourage unauthorized migration, but in exchange allowed nearly 1.7 million Mexican immigrants in the 1990s. Immigration to the U.S. is now more diverse than ever. But with the rise of ISIS and the Syrian refugee crisis, prominent politicians are again talking about which immigrant groups to restrict. If you want to see how people from a specific country came to the U.S., click here for the full interactive.
Was the audio clear for all of you? Was good? Okay, thank you. Now we come back to another 911. This just, I'm talking about 2 days back, November 11, 2016, while Americans were counting votes, and most of the folks in India were counting votes here. There are two major events. India made a changes to the 500 rupees and 100,000 rupees note. So there's a major impact. Meanwhile, US went through a huge change with the new president coming into the country. And on the same day, Canadian government immigration website crashed. So it's 3 events on one day. It is very interesting.
Abhi ki bar, Trump, Sarkar. Abhi ki bar, Trump, Sarkar. Abhi ki bar, Trump, Sarkar.
So, Mr. Donald Trump is the president of the United States now, and for last 12 months, we all have been watching immigration, his policies towards immigration. It's been very interesting. It's been very hotly debated. It is probably this present election basically caught the whole world's attention in this year. And and it's very interesting to see Mr. Trump speaking in Hindi and trying to use Modi's slogans to promote himself. But finally, today, it is not a slogan anymore. So we are entering into Trump Sarkar moving forward. So this is my personal opinion. I have basically spent some time to go through what Mr. Trump has been saying all these years, in last 12, 15 months since he announced his candidacy. And I personally believe that he's going to make a huge impact on how immigration into the United States is going to be. In last 12 months, I'm going to just show you what has been saying with respect to just immigration. And I want all of you to just read it. I'm not going to read them out. On June 20th, 2016. And June 18th, 2016. These are the statements made by Mr. The President Trump in last 12 to 15 months. And it kind of gives us an insight into how he is thinking about immigration, also the kind of folks that are influencing him and what he's saying. So for all of us in this room, it's very important to know what Trump's opinion, what did he say in one of the interview regarding employment-based immigration.
Mr. Trump, your campaign website to this day argues that more visas for highly skilled workers would, quote, decimate American workers. However, at the CNBC debate, you spoke enthusiastically in favor of these visas. So which is it?
I'm changing. I'm changing. We need highly skilled people in this country, and if we can't do it, we'll get them in. And we do need, in Silicon Valley, we absolutely have to have. So we do need highly skilled. And one of the biggest problems we have is people go to the best colleges. They'll go to Harvard, they'll go to Stanford, they'll go to Wharton. As soon as they're finished, they get shoved out. They want to stay in this country. They want to stay here desperately. They're not able to stay here. For that purpose, we absolutely have to be able to keep the brain power in this country.
So you are abandoning the position on your website.
I'm changing it and I'm softening the position because we have to have talented people in this country.
And you're not releasing the discussion with the New York Times behind closed doors.
That is correct.
Which will have some asking whether on your immigration policies you are really just playing to people's fantasies,
No, I'm not
which
playing.
is a tactic you praised in your book, The Art of the Deal.
I'm not playing to anybody's fantasies. I'm playing the fact that our country is in trouble, that we have a tremendous problem with crime. The border is a disaster. It's like a piece of Swiss cheese, and we're going to stop it. We're going to stop people from coming into our country illegally. We're going to stop it.
Senator.
So hearing what he said, so from my personal opinion, this is what I think we should expect. He has made several times, probably you can see this in several websites too, that he's going to increase ICE and Border Patrol strength by 3 times. So there are going to be a lot of jobs in that particular field in the Trump presidency. And he plans to deport up to 6 million immigrants illegal immigrants from the country, and he would like to do extreme weighting of legal immigration. And he proposes a lot of increased audits. And this, I believe, along with that, he's basically saying that they'd like to have a great system for in the government side for border control and a management. So which means there's going to be investment coming into technology and the government systems. So what does it mean for everybody here sitting in this room? Many of you are here from corporations, and you represent, you headed your immigration function in the company, or some of you basically support of immigration function in the company. So it's going to have a definitely impact on the dollars that you are spending. In my personal opinion, it's going to be, there will be increased audits and increased government fees that's going to come up, and there are going to be increased attorney and subject matter expense fees that you're going to have to pay, because things are going to get more tougher and tougher. And there's going to be more need for compliance. Then also there's going to basically, there's going to be need for you guys, for the corporations, to invest in technology to make sure you stay compliant. So this is something I don't think we can avoid, because if Hillary had become president, things would have been pretty much same what Obama continued with the Trump. Definitely it is going to change. And that is something tomorrow I was speaking to Mr. Rami Fakuri, and he's going to go into a little bit more detail. And he works with one of the lobbyists in Washington, D.C., and he has some insights and what could be coming in the front line. So he's going to share with you tomorrow in much in detail. So coming back to, this is the presentation I prepared